wood joint we're going to do with the hand tools today is called a dado joint. So we know a little bit about a dado. Dado goes across the grain. Okay. So for a dado, we need a block of wood. We're going to need our tape measure, pencil, and tri-square for the layout. We're going to need a back saw to make some cuts. We're going to need the wood chisel to chip small pieces of wood, along with the hammer. Okay, I'm going to move to the other camera. We have our block of wood. We want to lay out the dado. So the first thing we want to do is, the dado is going to be located 1 1/4 from the end of the board. So I'm marking that, and it's going to be 3/4 wide. So 1 1/4 plus 3/4 is 2 inches. Okay. So with those marks, I'm going to take the tri-square. I'm going to lay it on here, mark across. You want to be very precise with your measurements and markings. You want both those lines to go down the side of the board. The side would be actually the edge, so across the surface and down both edges. Okay, so we have the dado laid out where it's going to go. Now we got to lay out the depth. We want this to be 3/8 deep. So holding my 2-inch right on that edge, because it's easier to see than this, I'm going to mark a depth of 3/8 of an inch. So depth is 3/8. And I'm going to use my finger to make that straight line across there. And we're going to come across to the other side and do the same thing. So mark 3/8, use my pencil. So this part is the part we want to remove to make the dado. So to do that, we're going to put it in the bench vise. And we're going to take a back saw, and we're going to cut down our lines to our depth point. You don't want to cut too deep, and you don't want to cut on the outside of the line, you don't want to cut on the inside of the line, you want to cut right on your line. You want to be precise because we want another piece of wood to fit in here. So again, you start your cut on the line, pull back to get it started, and make sure you're following your line all the way across, and then you want to get your depth of 3/8. Don't go too deep. We're going to come over to our other line and do the same thing. Notice I don't keep my hand over here while I'm cutting. It's in the danger zone. Keep it back this way. Once we have that done, we're going to take the wood chisel. Teach you a little bit more about a wood chisel right now. You have a beveled side and you have a flat side. It's important to understand what they're used for. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put flat side down, and we're going to do what's called scoring our line. We have a line here for our depth. What we want to do is we want to take the hammer. Remember, we don't keep our body over here. You always cut away from you. We put it on that depth line, and we tap it. What this does, it creates a weak spot, so when we start cutting that wood out, we want it to chip or break on the weak spot. We don't want a chunk to come out. Okay? After you do that, you want to use the bevel side. Whoops, get this down where you can see it. You want to use the bevel side. So the bevel side will just scoot along and the chips will come out. If you put the flat side down, it wants to dig into your wood and go deeper. We don't want it to do that. We want it to just go across. So you're going to learn to hold your chisel at that angle so that bevel side's flat. And this is what a wood chisel is used for, to chip small pieces of wood. So you see that? And I'm going to work my way across, taking out little pieces, and just keep going. Okay, what I don't want to do is if I take this big chunk out, it may take a chunk out here. So I'm going to turn, keeping that angle, and I'm going to chip going back. Okay, remember keeping your body out of the zone. Then when you get to that point, you clean out the bottom. Remember, beveled side down so it slides across, doesn't dig in, to create your dado. Now I'm going to do flat side down and just push it across here to clean up the little bit of stuff that did not chip out evenly. Okay? And we would do the same thing going back this way. Might use right there. So that's how you would create a dado joint. Okay? The real test is when we go to put this in here. Remember, we want it to fit. What's that word we're looking for? Snug. We don't want it to fall out. We want it to fit in there tight. This takes practice, okay? So, we have our dado joint. So we just completed our dado joint, okay? 3/8 inch deep, 3/4 wide, 1 1/4 inch to it, 2 inches to that side, dado joint.